Thank you for joining us tonight to hear information about the completed design and the construction plans for Site 30 ESE3, which is a new elementary school opening in August of 2022 in the Boggy Creek area. A few housekeeping notes about how this meeting will work. Attendees are automatically muted with cameras off. Please use the Q&A tool to ask questions. The chat is also open. You can ask questions at any time during the meeting. Any questions that are not answered during the meeting, we're going to read everything at the end out loud so that everybody can hear all the questions. If you could advance the slide one, Ed, please. The video icons you see either on the top or the side of your screen are panelists who are available to answer questions today. I will be introducing them shortly. If you have any technical issues, you can reach WebEx support. I have put their phone number in the chat, but I'll also read it here. It's 1-866-229-3239, and then you would press 2 and then 1. So if you're having any technical problems, they should be able to help you. Also, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the OCPS Facilities Communications YouTube channel. It'll be sent out as a link as well. And the presentation slides and the web link will also be posted both on the facilities website and board member Linda Cobert's website. So this meeting, the purpose of this meeting is to talk about the completed design for this new elementary school and to talk about the construction plans. We're not talking about zoning. That's a separate process that was completed last week. I have put a link in the chat showing where you can find that, and I'll also drop it in the chat again later in the meeting. But before we get started, let's turn to District 3 board member Linda Cobert for welcome remarks. Linda, are you with us?
Yes. I am, Lauren. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. I just want to welcome everyone here tonight for the 100% design construction meeting for what is known as 30 ESE3. As we get moving through into construction, the community will have the opportunity to come together and choose a name for the school, colors, mascot, all those fun things. We'll find out who our principal is, all the great things that make the school the heart of the community. I want you to know that we have absolutely some of the best architects and builders on this project. So I'm very excited for what this school is going to look like and what it will do for all of our students and the faculty and staff who make it run. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to you, Lauren, and the experts to tell us all about our new school.
Great. Thank you so much, Linda. So I'm going to introduce some of the panelists who are here today to potentially answer questions, just so you have an idea of who's on the call. As Linda was saying, this is the 100% design meeting, and our next meeting will be midway through the construction process. The area superintendent for this school is William Bond, and Mr. Bond is also a Spanish speaker. And so we wanted to let you know that if you'd like to ask a question in Spanish, you can put a question in Spanish in chat or the Q&A, and we'll still be able to address that. So feel free, if you're more comfortable asking your questions in Spanish, go ahead and do that. That's great. So I also wanted to mention that I know I saw Wyndham Lakes Elementary School came on, and I think some of our other principals might be dropping in as well who are affected. The architect for this project is Ziskovich, and from Ziskovich we have Ed Napier, who's going to be giving the presentation, and George Del Castillo, who's also here to potentially answer questions. This school is now about to enter the construction process, part of the building, and the construction manager for this project is Pirtle. So from Pirtle we have Richard Rodriguez, Jason Krakunas, and Jatin Amin. They're all here, and you'll hear a bit from them later. The traffic engineer on this project is Dwi Dow from Dow Consulting. He's waving at you there. And also he has a subcontractor helping him with this project, TPD Traffic. The civil engineer on this project is Jay Klima. And then we have a group that's here from OCPS Facilities. So the project manager for this project, now this is the person who coordinates between the school district and the architect and the construction manager. That's Tamara Cox. So she's a really key person to get to know. We have Michael Gallo here from the project management design team. I do communications for facilities. My name is Lauren Roth. From planning, we have Stephen Thorpe here. I saw Randy Durkee, who's our commander for OCPS police in this region. So welcome, Commander Durkee. Adam Zubritsky is on from transportation. Let me look and see if we have Office of the Fire Marshal on yet. I'm not seeing them yet, but they might come on later. And so we work really closely with our partners from Orange County. And so I'm very pleased to say that Christina Pichardo Cruz, who handles school safety and traffic engineering for the county, is on the line. And I'm expecting Diana Almodovar, Deputy Director of Public Works, to be joining us also. I'll also be watching out. I see Mo Arthur has joined us. He's the head of the design team here with OCPS. And if I see other people start to hop on, I will introduce them the next time I'm on the screen. But for now, I'm going to turn the presentation over. Oh, no, wait, I have one more slide. Go ahead, Ed, and advance me one more slide. Okay, so as I said right at the beginning, this school was just zoned. That process was completed last week. The board actually approved a zone for this school. This meeting is not about the school attendance zone. This is a separate process that's just about design and construction, but I know that's a common question, so I've dropped a link into the chat showing you where to find that map, and I'll also drop it in the chat again as more people come in. So now I'll hand it over to Ed Napier. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Lauren. Can you guys hear me okay?
Sound good?
Perfect. So, like Lauren said, this is for school site 30 ESE3. And my name is Ed Napier. I'm with Siskovich Architects, and we're really excited about this project. It's located in the southern part of town in the Boggy Creek area. So we're going to talk a little bit briefly about the surrounding schools. We have Weatherby, Meadow Woods, Wyndham Lakes, and Oakshire, just so you guys can orient yourself and get an idea of where the location of the school is. Like Lauren did say, that this meeting is not about the zoning, but just a brief message. The Wyndham Lakes and Weatherby location were slightly affected. And again, Lauren has posted that link, and you guys can look up that information at your leisure. So we're zooming in a little bit closer to where this site is. The site is here off of Stonewick, again in the Boggy Creek area, just south of the 417, east of the Florida Turnpike, and north of Osceola Parkway. The site, again, is located on Stonewick. The school site here is a greenfield site, and all that means is that there's no building there right now. It's just grass, and it's located adjacent to a future community park that is planned. As we're zooming into the site, we're going to point out that we have apartments to the north, and that's Harrington Point. And then we have a community to the east of the property, which is Lake Preserve. And we have Stonewick that runs the whole front of the site. The site itself is approximately 10.6 acres. And it does have an easement here to the east, but most of the site will be developed. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the next slide, where we have the site plan. So a little bit about the proposed school and the amenities that are available to the site. Again, this is Stonewick running east to west along the perimeter of the site. To the west, we will have the major bus entrance, which will be looped in and out. You'll have one in and one out for buses only. On the east of the site, we have the parent drop and the parking for the parents and staff. This is set up in a looping fashion, so we have queuing on site to not allow any cars to back up onto Stonewick, which should allow for traffic to continue moving. Some of the site data we have listed here on the right. We provide separate loops. We provide 212 vehicles spots on site for queuing, which is approximately 4,250 feet. There's 150 spaces for parking, and there's enough queuing for 15 buses on site. So we'll talk a little bit about the other main site features. The entrance for the school will be here, where this little blue dot is, underneath the main canopy, and you'll see an image of that a little bit later. This is a 2-story building that's tiered. So you'll have a portion of the building that is 2 stories and a portion of the building that is 1 story. There's a bike rack right out in front of the school for the children that will be riding a bike. We have crosswalks at each of the entrances and to cross Stonewick out in front of the school. Some of the site amenities include a covered sheltered PE area. That's where the children will have their outdoor PE. There are 2 basketball courts, a large outside play area for PE for outdoor playing. There is both a youth and a tot lot. The tot lot is covered. And then OCPS requires us as designers to show locations for future portables, even though they are not intended to be on site when this school opens. This is a future area that they could be located if ever needed down the road. So now we're going to go into the building and we're going to talk a little bit about the floor plan. Again, just to orient yourself, this is that main canopy we talked about with that blue dot on the last slide. That's your main entry. You will come into the admin. That is the one entrance in and out of the building. That is for security reasons. On the first floor, you have classrooms that flank the exterior of the building with the media center, music, dining, kitchen, art, and skills lab, all located on the first floor. And we have some images of what those spaces will look like later on in the presentation. And then on the second floor, you can see that the building steps back. This is the dining and kitchen area with the admin space. The building steps back and up to the second floor. The second floor consists all of classroom space. There's 4 stairs located along the perimeter to access that, along with an elevator back here for anybody that needs that accessible access up and down to the second floor. OCPS, all new schools are designed per the Green Globes program. And basically what that means is we're trying to provide a more environmentally friendly building. Site 30 is no different. These are some of the features that the building does include. And just to list a couple, we design with native plants and low impact stormwater. The building is 10% more energy efficient than what is required by regular building code, which is the ASHRAE 90 code. All appliances Energy Star related. It says here most general classrooms have daylighting. All classrooms that the students are in all day long do have an exterior window, so classrooms do have daylighting. Fully automated building controls and high efficiency windows. So these are just some of the main features that allow this building to have a less of an impact on the environment. So here's the view everybody wants to see. This is the main elevation, or the south elevation. This is what you would see as you were driving down Stonewick, along with the colors that the building will be. Again, this area here where my pointer is at, that is your main entry with the canopy out front. You have your admin wing here, and you have your dining wing here. Your parent drop-off is at this end of the building. The bus drop-off is at this end. And you'll notice sort of the playful elevation that we have here with the diagonal lines. We like to call this the building in the park. It's supposed to sort of represent the building with some trees and have it kind of blend into the background. This is a 3D view, sort of looking down Stonewick. This is Stonewick here again with that same sort of elevated 2-story main canopy out front. Your main entrance into the admin wing here. Your admin wing with that, again, building in the park sort of field elevation. The parent drop off here. And the bus drop off at the other end. So this is what you're going to see as you come into the admin wing, or an example of this is actually Union Park Elementary School, which is one of the prototypes that this building is based off of. And you'll have your admin desk here with your single point of entry into the building here that is locked and you have to be bussed through. This is an example of what the media center will look like. Again, from Union Park, you'll have a Genius bar. For the older students, you have soft seating, hard seating, your book stacks, well-lit, exterior lighting, carpeted space that has bathroom access within the media center for the students, so the students do not have to leave the media center to use the restroom. This is your typical classroom. Again, having exterior windows so you have plenty of daylighting. Every classroom at OCPS projects has a smart board, which is the teaching wall, your standard elementary school seating. And in the elementary schools, the flooring in the classrooms in the main area is carpet tiles, but in any wet area, you can see down here at the edge on the back side, outside of this frame is where your bathroom and your sink is. So any wet area gets VCT tile. Here's an example of the art studio. The art studio gets tile as well with a teaching wall. These beautiful wood durable desks that the students can do their artwork on. Plenty of storage, and just out of frame, there's also daylighting in this art space. And then this is an example of the science space. They have epoxy topped desks for them to do their science experiments on. Again, another teaching wall with an interactive board, VCT tile, just in case there's any accidents in the side slab, and plenty of lighting here to keep the space nice and bright. Here's an example of what the music studio might look like. There is, for acoustics, carpet, but there's also acoustical wall panels along the top to help with the sound. Plenty of space for the children to stretch out and work on their music skills, along with plenty of storage for the teachers. And this is the example of the multi-purpose dining. So the reason this is multi-purpose is because this acts as both the dining hall and the auditorium space for the elementary school. The stage is at the back side of the multi-purpose room. So that's where the performances and plays and stuff like that will happen. This has a VCT floor. Again, it's on an exterior wall, so it has plenty of natural day lighting with windows and your standard bench seating for your cafeteria. This is an example of the tot lot. So what I discussed earlier, the tot lot is covered. So you'll have a cover over the tot lot to provide shade and help keep the equipment cool. They also provide this rubberized play surface which helps with any trips or falls that kids don't get hurt. And just to kind of follow up, this school was built 3 other times here in the district. Dr. Phillips Elementary School, Union Park Elementary School, and then Rolling Hills Elementary School, which was just finished and it was modified. That school is only a 1-story because the demand wasn't as high for the 2-story. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jatin with Pirtle, and he's going to talk to you guys a little bit about what you can expect during the process of construction.
Thank you, Ed. So hello all, I am Jatin Amin, and on behalf of Portal Construction, I'd like to welcome you all. I and my team, we are very excited to be part of the management process of the construction of Site 30 Elementary. And what you have on the slide here is the site logistics. Basically, we are going to have all around the building, we will have the casting slabs, which we will use to build the walls. To the east is where we will have most of the storage, and to the west of the building, we will have our offices as well as the parking. Now, what we could expect here is, because this is an import site, we will have in the beginning of the construction, we will have some trucks running in and out of the site, and that will actually be bringing in a lot of import material for the site. Also, we will have around October, around Halloween is when you should see the building walls going up, as well as the structural steel, the skeleton being put together. And, those will be the major, highlighting milestones that you would be witnessing while you drive down Stonewick. And we know that, all those construction activities will, have a little bit of disruption to all you neighbors, but we are very sensitive. We are going to coordinate all our construction, all the major activities with all of, your organizations, the HOA and stuff, just to make sure that we minimize any hassle or disruptions to your daily lives. Ed, can you take me to the next slide, please? So this is basically the bar chart for the schedule. We are in the pre-construction phase. We started the pre-construction phase late 2020, and subsequently the design was developed, and we have just now received the bids with we will be now waiting on the board approval in a couple of months, at which point we will be starting the construction sometime in the June or beginning of July. That is when the construction will start. Now, we have about a year of a timeline for the construction duration, so we could expect that, around June next year, 2022, is when we should be finishing the project with an anticipated substantial completion date of end of June, early July. And that means the school will be ready for you all to get started August of 2022. With that said, I will hand the baton over to Lauren, and she'll take it over from here. Thank you.
Thanks, Jatin. Ed, if you could just move the slide forward one more. We do have some questions starting to come in, which I'll start to read out loud in a moment, but I wanted everybody to take a look at the screen here. And this shows you how to use the Q&A box. If you're having trouble with the Q&A, you can ask questions in the chat also. So I will start out with the questions that we've gotten already. I did also want to mention that the Weatherby principal has also joined us. So we have representatives of Weatherby and Wyndham Lakes here, and possibly some of the other schools. So the first question is, and Jay, I think this might be a question for you. Let me know if it's not. The question is, how many feet between Stonewick Street sidewalk and the front entrance? And so they're trying to ask kind of how that entrance will look and whether there will be a fencing to create a pathway for walking and biking students. Can we, Ed, can you hop back to the site plan?
Yeah, so Lauren, the closest that the building gets to the sidewalk is just short of 78 feet. Now the entrance into the actual building where the blue dot is set back a little bit further, as you can see on here, but the closest portion of the building is 78 feet from the sidewalk.
Okay. And I don't believe there's a fence that leads up to the building. And
correct. No
Jay,
fence.
I don't know if you'd be the one to explain, but I know we don't typically put a fence across the front. Can you explain why?
Yeah, I mean, that's mainly the primary reason is because we want the schools to be inviting as opposed to fenced off from the rest of the community, so that the frontages of the campuses are typically not fenced. The other perimeters, like the east, west, and north side of this are fully fenced, but not on the south side.
So Lauren, I failed to note that when we talked about the site plan, but this red dashed line here denotes the perimeter fence that creates the secure zone for the school along with the actual building. So that's what creates the school zone. So there will be fencing there. And then like Jay said, this blue dash line fencing along the west side and the east side of the property, nothing along the front. The drives have the cattle gates that will be closed in off hours, but otherwise the front of the school is open and meant to be inviting.
Okay, and Monica, if that does not answer your question, please feel free to drop another question in, or I can unmute you if that didn't answer your question. So just let me know. Okay, next question. There are trees that line Stonewick in between the street and sidewalk. Will you please try to keep them as much as possible? Would that be Ed? Would that be you? Can we talk to what trees we're keeping?
I can probably handle that if you want.
Yeah, let's let Jay handle that.
Okay, great.
So Ed, you can help here though, if you wouldn't mind. So we've got a left turn lane that is being built out on Stonewick. And that's requiring, it's basically happening between the two driveways. So he's pointing the two red lines right now. With the installation of that turn lane, the pavement is actually getting a full lane width wider than what it is now. And that's all being built to the school's side of the road right away. So that was always intended. You can actually see there's a little jog in the property boundary. If Ed can kind of show you where the jog is right there on the western end. So that was always planned to be widened at some point when the school came in. And so those trees within that zone pretty much are all going to go away because of the widening of the road.
Do we know if there's any that are staying at this point, or are they all within that area that's going to be needed for widening?
There's a few on both the east and the west ends that will remain where we're not having to have a full pavement width. But outside of that, I would say the majority of them are going to be gone.
They are going to be gone. However,
And
we
that-
are adding trees on the OCPS property. for
On the
purpose-
Stonewick
Absolutely.
side?
Correct, we will.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
and actually, as a clarification, Lauren, what I'm talking about is only on the school side of the road. All of the trees that are on the south side, which is the opposite side of the road, we're not touching any of those trees.
Right, gotcha. And it sounds like we're adding some on our side too. Great. And Ed or George, could you speak to how there's room for arrival and dismissal of 700 students by both, car, bus, and walker and biker?
I'll
Yeah.
take it. Or do you want to, George? Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I'll answer it. OCPS requires us to provide stacking for 20% of the student population, and this school has a capacity of 837 students. So we have the capacity to queue. That 20% is at 212 vehicles minimum. So that's 4,250 feet, which is double stacked on site. So based on those projections, we shouldn't have any cars filling out into Stonewick.
Okay, and then, we've got the bus loop for the buses, and can you point out the bike racks again? And then sidewalks for walkers to be able to come in as well, right? So,
Correct.
okay, and I think this next question, I'm gonna need a little assistance from the county, either Christina or Diana, who I saw came on. This next neighbor has said that they're concerned about inundating the surrounding area with traffic. It said that we're only focusing on our site, and you're actually exactly right. That's because we cannot control the areas outside our own property, which is why we work with our partners in Orange County government. They manage the roadways in the county. So I don't see the actual question, but there does seem to be a concern about that. So maybe this would be a great time for Christina or Diana to talk about, what the county does when a new school comes in.
This is Diana Almodovar. I'm the Deputy Director of Orange County, also the county engineer here in Orange County. What we do is once the school opens, we go out and we evaluate the traffic. We wait till it slows down a couple of weeks after the school, because the first 2 weeks are very confusing for parents and students and neighbors. So we monitor the movements coming to the school and leaving the school in the afternoon. Then we make assessments. Stonewick Street has speed tables along Stonewick within the subdivision already installed, which will assist in calming down the traffic along this stretch of road, which the community had requested, and they were installed about a year or two ago. That's one option that we have when we see there is speed issues. This is an infill school, so we are really hoping that a lot of the students that will be attending this school can bike to school. That's why there are plenty of sidewalks that they can walk or bike to the school. This is all surrounded by residential developments. So we are, definitely looking at that, reducing the traffic, the parent drop off and parent driving onto the to the school. So we will monitor for that as the school opens, and if there are any issues of concern that we have to address in the intersections and inside the subdivisions or approaching the school, we will study them and see if there are any remedies that we can provide in order.
And Diana, I did find the rest of the question, since
Okay.
it, so I just wanted to share what it is.
Sure.
The question was specifically about traffic lights. The note is that there's currently no traffic lights at Keneal Bay and Wyndham Lakes or at Stonewick and Keneal Bay. So we can see those two spots on the screen there. And the neighbor would like to know, how does the project address? Yeah, go ahead, answer that. Yeah.
Yes, again, that will be any intersection that is affected by the school. We will look at and we will conduct the necessary studies. But we need to see where the traffic is coming, how much traffic is coming. As I mentioned before, we're expecting these to be a lot of walkers or bikers, because it really is near all these subdivisions. But we will look at intersections as they mentioned, Wyndham Lakes and Keneal Bay and Stonewick. We'll look at all those intersections once the school opens and the traffic starts moving, and we will do traffic analysis, we'll go do counts, we'll do studies. And if warranted and when warranted, we will install any signalization that may be required.
Okay, and OCPS also did a traffic study. Just wanted to share that with the attendees. And Dwee, if you could unmute yourself, if you could just say what our traffic study concluded.
We have conducted the traffic warrant, traffic signal warrant at the intersection of Keneal Bay and Wyndham Lakes Boulevard. And it showed it warrant a traffic there, a traffic signal. And,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's a report will be submitted later to the county. Yes.
Okay, so our traffic study, we think that there is going to be one warranted at Wyndham Lakes and Keneal Bay, but we will be submitting that information to the county, like Dewey said, and then they need to do, their analysis of it also. Okay. And okay, there's another line about car traffic. So Ed, if you don't mind just going forward I think it's maybe 2 slides back to the site plan. Okay, so there's a question of how can we guarantee that Stonewick won't get backed up? And first I'd like to say we can't guarantee what parents are going to do, but we do design the site in such a way that you can fit 212 vehicles at one time. And then, of course, that line will move as kids are dropped off or picked up. So that's just, at one moment in time. And one thing that can be done is initially when a school opens, they often start with what we call single stacking, where it's one lane of traffic and then there's a passing lane. And if we find that cars are backing up into the street, we ask the schools to use that second lane all the way up to, if you could kind of, I don't know if you know.
So Lauren, let me speak on this a little bit. So what will end up happening is whether you're coming east or west on Stonewick, you'll enter on the east side of this double lane drive. You'll actually drive all the way through the lot, back and forth, and that's how we get the stacking of 212 vehicles, and you'll be double wide. And what happens typically on these school sites is right around here, they go from 2 lanes to one lane, and they'll put some cones. And that way, as if it takes one parent a little bit longer to maybe drop their students off, the parents aren't stuck here. They can use this other lane to exit. So there's 2 lanes still here. And then what that allows to do is the cars behind them to keep filling in. So at that point, we should really never back up onto Stonewick again, like Lauren said, we can't guarantee, but we do our best to put all these practices in place so we can hopefully have the best case scenario where it does not back up onto Stonewick.
Okay, thanks, Ed. And while we're on this slide, I'm going to bounce this one to you. There's a question about where walkers will enter from the surrounding community. So could you show in both directions?
Right,
Where
so-
students coming from, how they would walk, please?
Yeah, so there's going to be, obviously, there's an existing sidewalk now, but that existing sidewalk will get slightly shifted, as Jay mentioned earlier, but we'll still have a sidewalk along the entire frontage of the property, and that will tie in back into Lake Preserve sidewalk here, and then it ties back into the one that's currently out in front of the future community park. Now, students walking from that direction or from this direction will continue down the sidewalk. Will hit this main entrance to the school sidewalk and be able to come right into the front entry of the school. And typically what happens on these elementary schools is you'll have staff there with the egress doors open, allowing the students to funnel into the school first thing in the morning. Now, sometimes the schools use the dining area as a staging area in the morning and then at the end of the day. And if they do that, they can just continue down the sidewalk and enter here, or there will be a sidewalk along the frontage of the building where they can walk and enter into the dining area. That's strictly up to the staff on where they enter at. Now, if they're coming from the other side of the street, you'll have the existing sidewalk that runs on the south side of Stonewick, and there will be a crosswalk with signalization provided to allow the students to cross and enter the school in that fashion. The same thing with the bikers. The bikers will be able to ride on the sidewalk and come down and park. There will be a bike rack provided out in front. And then if students are riding their bike from this direction, there is another bike rack provided here near the bus drop off, and they'll be able to enter the school along with the bus dropped off students on the back side of here into the main corridor that leads down the first floor hallway.
Thank you so much. Do we know
You're
yet
welcome.
where there might be a crossing guard?
I don't think we've discussed that, Tamara. Have we gotten into that yet?
So that's really a discussion with Orange County. Their group will evaluate the site and make that determination.
Okay, and we will
Hi,
be having
Lauren, it's
another.
Christina.
Oh, hi, Christina.
She is correct. We usually do determine that closer to when the school is opening, but I can tell you that
Whoa.
crossing guards are usually located in front of the school.
Okay, and we will have another meeting with the community before the school opens. That'll be around the time that the walls start to pop up, so maybe October or November. So, things that are a little too far out now will be, better defined at that point. If Ed, could you point out again, it says, will Keneal Bay be widened to include a left turn to the west of Wyndham Lake Boulevard?
So that's off of our site.
That's off property, okay.
Yeah, that's,
So I guess that
down
would
here.
I guess that would be more Christina or Diana then. I'm sorry, I thought it was referring to the turn lane onto our property. Is that part of what would be looked at after the school opens, Diana, or is that something
What
that?
was that again? The turn lane?
Yeah, it was will Keneal Bay, so
Okay.
not Stonewick,
Gotcha.
be widened to include a left turn to West Wyndham Lakes Boulevard? Actually, I don't think that's on this either. We'll have
So
to go
that's,
back.
yeah, we have to go back to here. So they're looking to make a left turn off of Wyndham Lakes here, or off of Keneal onto
Keneal
Wyndham
Bay.
Lakes. Yeah.
To turn west. And that's that
Now-
same intersection where we were asking about the light earlier.
Yeah. They have a pedestrian crossing at that location. There's no left turn lane. And they should have a left turn lane.
Okay.
So that's something we need to talk to the school board about. That's an impact, direct impact. Okay. Yep, there should be a left turn lane there.
Okay, great observation. Also the question, there's a question from the same neighbor, will speed be controlled during school mornings and afternoons? Is that a Christina question or?
Yeah, Christina.
There will be a school zone. If there isn't a traffic signal that is installed, we would look into school zone. So either way would slow down traffic.
Okay. And I think, Diana, this goes right back to the same intersection we were just talking about. Question is, will Keneal Bay be widened to 2 lanes? Will you consider extending it to Osceola Parkway?
There are currently no plans to extend Keneal Bay to Osceola County. We have discussed this extension with Osceola County. We meet with them on a quarterly basis, and we have expressed that, but there's no, on the Osceola County side, there is a retention pond that was built when Osceola Parkway was widened to 4 lanes. And so we don't have the ability to connect right now, but we continue to have those conversations with Osceola County.
Thank you. And that's followed up by another question that I apologize. I don't know where this is on the map. The question is, will you consider opening access from Ward Road to Lake Nona Boulevard?
Yes, that is in the plans, but only when the development comes through. That parcel has not been proposed any for development, and until they come forward with a proposed development on that parcel, then that's when we will ask for that connection to happen. So eventually it will happen. At this time, it's yet not planned.
Great, thank you, Diana. The next couple questions are traffic questions too. I think the next one might be Christina. How would traffic speed get enforced? Living on Stonewick, very few drivers drive at the speed limit right now.
Well, we work a lot with the sheriff's office, so if there is speeding that's going on once the school opens, we will alert the sheriff's office, and then they will send out a deputy.
Okay, thank you. And there's a question, a follow-up question to an earlier question about, since we don't have a fence across the front, can trees be planted as a natural barrier since fences are uninviting? And Tamara, I know Tamara mentioned that we were going to be planting some trees. I don't think they're intended as a barrier per se, more as just an enhancement of the look. Tamara, do we happen to know like how many trees we're talking about?
I believe we were somewhere between 8 and 10, Lauren, that we would be adding in that front area.
Gotcha. So that's more really just to make it look pleasant. It's not intended to be like, you know, a barrier of any
It
sort.
was not to be a buffer from the street, because that causes other concerns as far from a safety perspective. We want it to, like we said, be open to the community itself. So the intent is not to inhibit the view to that front entrance.
Okay, thank you. There's a question, and it's been answered already within the chat, but I want to read it out loud. What will the fence facing Lake Preserve on the east side be made of? And the answer from Jay Klima, all new perimeter fencing on OCPS sites includes a 6-foot black vinyl chain link fence. So what that means is it's a chain link fence that's been wrapped in black vinyl. Makes it glint less. Another question, what fire station will be supporting this school? And the answer is the county has identified that Fire Station 55, located at 801 Greenway Professional Center, will be the supporting fire station for this site. There's a question of where will the students be sitting for dismissal? There's very limited shade and space. Okay, can you show where the awning is, please, Ed? Can you run the yeah, the light across there? Okay. Is there an awning along the parent drop off, or is it just the little portion right on the corner?
No, usually it runs the link to the drop off also.
Okay, so in other words, there are benches along there, and they're shaded and covered. So the entire kind of shorter side of the building over there on the east side has benches along it. And now the school can kind of operationally do it as they like, but students typically line up under there and are then called by name when their parent pulls up. Most schools put numbers on the different polls, and the students can be at a certain number, or they'll send a student from poll 2 to 10 to get picked up, that sort of thing. Okay, another traffic question. Please consider Ward Road, as the Boggy Creek apartments being built will also be zoned for this school. Ward Road is the main road between Simpson Road, Boggy Creek, and Ward Road. And I think that concern has been noted. Another question, coming from Beacon Park, cars often speed through, kids will be walking, and there are no speed bumps. So Jay responded, the crosswalk in front of the school site will include the required school zone. Do we know if there would be speed bumps? Is that something that's considered when we're looking at the school zone, Christina?
That is a separate concern that we would look at. We could work with our traffic calming project manager and see if it would meet the warrant for traffic calming. We would just have to, again, wait till the school opens, see what the issues are, and then move forward with what we can do.
Okay, and we have a question that's expressing frustration that it won't be addressed until after the school opens. I mean, the way it's always been explained, as far as I know, is that the reason we do it that way is because when we're looking at it beforehand, it doesn't have the volume of traffic that it does once it opens. And so once it opens, we can show that there's a need for it. But Diana, is there another reason that we do it that way? Why don't we, go make these changes now?
The reason we do it that way is because we need to have justification for anything we do on our public rights of ways, and unless we have the data to support it, then we would not implement any improvements. The data has to be there, the need for it has to be there in order to justify expenditures.
So in other words, if this school ended up having like lots and lots of walkers and bikers and people weren't really driving, it might need different things than if everybody drives their kids.
Yes, for example, and I don't know if there's enough right away, but we would like to see 10-foot sidewalks instead of 5-foot sidewalks in front of schools to serve the kids that are walking and biking, so that it could be a multi-use path. I mean, sometimes the right of way is not wide enough to accommodate that, but it would be beneficial to have a wider walking path that can accommodate both walkers and bikers.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of neighborhoods where that would be really cool. Okay, there's a question, Mr. Bond, I might need you on this one. The question is, will this school have ESE? And yes, the school will have ESE, but what I just want to ask Mr. Bond is, do you expect this to be an ESE center or just a typical school with ESE?
That's a very good question. At this point, it's too premature to talk about that, but definitely ESE services will be provided at the school.
Okay, and like I was talking about with, some of these other questions, things that are just really too soon to know for sure, like sometimes people want to know if we're going to have after-school programs or what the after-school programs are going to be. When we come back for the 40% construction meeting, a lot more of those issues will have been sorted out, and we'll even know who your principal is by that point.
And Lauren, just to touch a little bit more on the ESC, we do have what we call skills labs carved out on the floor, and that's where your ESC classes would take place. So there is adequate space for those programs in here. And like Mr. Bond said, it just depends on what the district decides on moving forward, what the need is.
Thanks, Ed. And there's a question, if there's already a speeding concern, can't we do a traffic study before they open? before a child gets hit by a car. And absolutely, and that's why OCPS does hire a traffic consultant, and our traffic consultant has completed their report, and we're passing it along to our partners with the county. So yes, we do a traffic study as we're designing our school. Now, has anyone on my panel received a direct question that was not copied to me that you haven't heard me answer? Another question just came in. Where can we find career opportunities? Okay. So when will we be hiring for this school, Mr. Bond? It would be after we choose the principal, correct? Yeah. And typically we hire. Oh, you're muted, Mr. Bond.
Yeah, correct. After we hire the person.
Okay. And the principal's usually hired by approximately January, February of the year the school opens. So depending on when we have our 40% construction, we may not know who that person is yet, but usually by January or February of 2022, for a 2022 school, we would expect to have the principal in place. And then once the principal is in place, they put their leadership team together and they put their instructional and classified teams together. And so you'll be able to find those career opportunities on our website, ocps.net, on the employment page. Okay. Would the school cater to dietary needs like being a vegan? That's something that's a great question. I don't know if I've ever gotten that one before. I'll share that with food services, but I suspect that's something they do all the time. Mr. Bond, I don't know if you have more insight on that one than I do, but we have pretty amazing food service.
I agree. That is a very good question. We don't have the answer to that one today, but that's a very good question indeed.
Yeah, and PJ, if you do want to email me directly, my email is Lauren, Lauren, .roth, R-O-T-H, so the same spelling that's under my picture there, lauren.roth@ocps.net. If you want to shoot me that question, if our answer wasn't sufficient, go ahead and send that to me, and I'll send it to food service and get you a reply that's a little more specific. But yeah, I mean, they definitely deal with that sort of thing, and allergies and stuff too. All right, I'm looking to see if anything else has come in.
Hey, Lauren, just to clarify on the ESC, because I saw a question there.
Yeah, I just responded, but you can clarify,
Yeah.
George.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, on the facility list, I'm looking at it. We have 5 designated classrooms for ESC, 1 pre-K, 2 full-time and 2 part-time, and also 2 resource rooms that are ESC. So
And George, just so I can continue on that, just so they're aware, those would fall within the blue classroom spaces, which do have windows.
Yes, with natural lighting. Yes, they're classrooms.
With daylighting, yes.
Yeah, we have 46 classrooms in this building. All of them have natural daylighting, including the ESC. The art has lighting in the corner, and the skills labs is a computer and science. They're internal classrooms.
Great. Board Member Coburn, is there anything you wanted to say before we close out the meeting, unless more questions come in?
Sure. Hopefully I can get this in past the barking of my dog, but I'd just really like to thank everyone for coming. I would love some feedback from you. You can see my name and email, linda.cobert@ocps.net. I'd like some feedback on how you like these virtual meetings. We had in excess of 60 participants tonight, and that's really great on a school night and during testing and everything that's going on. So I want to thank everybody for coming. You can see this is going to be a beautiful school, and when it's finished, this community is going to have the newest, most up-to-date, state-of-the-art facility. So thank you, everyone, and please let me know how you like this format for meetings. I think it's makes it easy for parents to participate who might otherwise have to look for childcare or travel or coming home from work. So just really appreciate everybody showing up tonight. and getting excited about our new school. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you. And we actually do have a few more questions now. So let me get through those. So hang on tight, everybody. When will we choose a school name? Are we voting on it? That's a great question. So after the principal is named in approximately January 2022, the principal will start to assemble their leadership team, and the principal will also lead the naming. So we asked the principals to actually email not just the existing school communities, but actually to include the email list of everybody who came to one of these meetings. And so you should get an email invitation to submit ideas and vote on the names. And then a top 3 of names go to the school board for the ultimate decision. And they do, try to avoid names that are repetitive to another school. But we've seen some really neat school names to come out. Adam, question for you. Do you know which surrounding communities will be eligible for bus riding at this point? Beacon Park seems to be close to the 2-mile requirement, but not sure when that decision will be made. Adam, can you explain how that 2-mile works and when that happens?
Until we have definite walk paths leading up to the school, we can't get accurate measurements because we have to use walking paths to the nearest pedestrian entrance door of the school coming from the student's residence. And those walking paths may or may not be accessible to vehicle traffic. So until those walking paths have been installed, we're not going to be able to get accurate 2-mile measurements for eligibility.
And typically it's the summer, right? The summer before the school opens that all that stuff is finalized?
Correct.
Okay, so it's a great question, but just stay tuned. It's too soon. Like Adam said, the sidewalks have to fully be in before they actually go out on the ground and measure it. Another participant said that they've been having a lot of internet issues. And will the meeting be recorded? Yes, it is being recorded as we speak, and it will be posted in a couple different places. It'll be posted on the OCPS Facilities Communications YouTube page. So you can always go to YouTube and search for that, but anyone who registered for this meeting, I'm automatically going to email you the slides and a link to the recording. It'll also be on board member Cobert's page, but just watch your email. You should really find it there tomorrow probably. Okay, oh, this is a great question. I can't believe no one asked this before. Mr. Vaughn, dual language. What if my child is in the program at Weatherby? So I think, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Concerning that particular question, we're having some meetings for a multilingual department at the district, and then looking at multiple possibilities concerning that area. Because I know how successful the dual language program is at Wyndham, and some of the students are currently in the program. So that is currently under conversation with the department at this point.
Okay, so definitely stay tuned on that one, because that I could see that being definitely an issue for people. I'm typing because the next question was, has a zone been determined for the school? And so I am pasting the link into the chat right now. You can view the attendance zone that the board approved last week at that link. So you just go to the site 30 information and it will show you the approved map there. And then I think I saw one more question come in after that one. I believe it came into the Q&A again. Okay, will there be an additional entrance/exit out of Lake Preserve, out of the Lake Preserve neighborhood adjacent to the school being built? When you say another entrance exit, are you asking about for walkers and bikers? Or I assume that's
Lauren, I think this is the only entrance in and out of this community right now, I think, and that's probably what they're asking. Let's look at I'll pull up the overhead map.
okay. Okay, Juliana, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if you were saying correct, yes, what I said or what Ed said. So are you talking about cars or are you talking about walkers and bikers? And Nicole, sure, I can include the zoning link in the email that goes out. That's not a problem. Giuliano says cars. So, so I guess the question is is the county thinking of putting another entrance or exit into the neighborhood, I think is the question. So I don't know. Diana, do you know, okay, talking about the traffic. At this time, there's only one entrance, Ward Road. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you for clarifying. So I know specifically what you mean. Ward Road is the question.
Okay. Yeah, there, on Ward Road to the south, it connects to Simpson Road. And Simpson Road is going to be improved by Osceola County. And that intersection, at the intersection of Ward Road and Simpson, there will be a traffic signal and turn lanes into Ward Road coming from Osceola County. And as I mentioned before, Ward Road to the north will be eventually connected to Lake Nona Boulevard when the property that is vacant gets developed. As it gets developed, it will be connected.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Those are the only two additional connections that we have, or improvements that we have in the planning stages.
Okay. And I'm absolutely happy to include the link to the map in the email that I send out, particularly because the one that it has like a space in it that doesn't work well in chat, and it'll be fine in email. Okay. Juliana says that's going through another neighborhood. I was asking if they'll be opening another entrance through Lake Preserve. I mean, like was just said, that's the only okay, I think Julia, okay. Sorry, I'm just kind of reading and speaking at the same time. Will they be opening another entrance through Lake Preserve that is Orange County Preserve approved? So is the neighborhood itself looking at making any improvements, or are we looking, is that's it, right, Diana? I mean, it's just what you said.
Only the existing access on Stonewick. That's it. There will not be any other access points connecting from that subdivision anywhere else, just to the north.
Okay, thank you. And let me see if anything else has come in. I think that's it. So thank you everyone very much for participating and coming on. This recording, as I mentioned, will be posted. So if there's anything that you missed and want to come back and rewatch, that's great. You can always send questions to me afterward, lauren.roth@ocps.net. Or if you have questions for board member Colbert, she's linda.colbert@ocps.net. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for the wonderful participation. It's always really nice to see so many people engaged in our coming schools, and we're really excited about this school. And stay tuned. Watch your emails for another meeting in the latter part of this year or early next year. And that one's kind of like seeing inside the school, because at that point we'll show some of the pictures of the construction that's going on. And I'm sorry, I think one more question got in. Let me see if I can fit you in. Let me see if I can find the question. One more last question before I shut things down. Oh, it was just a thank you. Someone just saying that they really liked the virtual session. So that's one, Linda. That's one big thumbs up. So there you go. So thank you so much, everyone. You have a great evening. Thank you. Bye.